look at this piece of evidence. Let's take this first example. He claimed that he was going to kill his girlfriend. Well, that in itself is not conclusive evidence to prosecute him, right? To convict him. Because, like I was saying to my wife and my brother, man, if you don't get out of my room, I'm going to kill you. Does that mean I actually wanted to kill my brother and my wife? Well, of course not. So this is basically the same situation that we are seeing with the Quranic verses. That yes, there could be it may be from a higher source or it may not be. Same thing is happening here with each and every one of these pieces of evidences. Maybe he is guilty, maybe he is not. In both cases, the evidence is inconclusive based upon this one piece of evidence alone. If you just look at this evidence alone. Now, of course, that holds true for each and every one of these 6 pieces of evidences. Alone, it's going to be very hard to prosecute this man, and he probably would get away. But now, here is what I would like to ask people to do. Let us take a look at the evidence, not individually, but collectively. Let us look at the evidence collectively. So when we ask this question, how do you explain all of these 6 incidents happening to you? Then it becomes clear that this is not a coincidence. Here, because you're basically, what you're doing, you're saying, okay, fine. You claimed you're going to kill a girlfriend. Okay, that in itself is not proof. But you also bought a knife that same week. How do you explain both of these? So what I'm asking you to tonight is not look at the evidence individually, but look at it collectively. And basically, if you were to look at this evidence collectively, which I just stated, I don't think there's any question that this man is guilty. Because what your brain basically just did, whether you realize it or not, you looked at number 1, that he claimed he's going to kill his girlfriend. In your mind, you came up with a probability, maybe 1 over 10, that he is innocent, 1 over 50, whatever. And then you look at the second piece of evidence. And then your brain basically did the same thing. Well, that's maybe 1 out of 50 chance. So you multiplied the probability of the first one and the probability of the second piece of evidence, and then you went down and you did all 6 pieces of evidences, and you came up with a number like 1 over 10 million. The chances are that it is 1 over 10 million that all of this is just done by chance or by just pure luck. That is clear that you are guilty, because the chances of you being innocent are so low. Anyways, now what I'm asking for people to do is put the same logic to the Quran. Look at the evidence collectively, not individually. Up to this point, now let's look at the evidence collectively, and let's see what we come up with. Okay. The author of the Quran made 8 brilliant scientifically correct statements, which of course I basically mentioned. So thus far we have seen many verses in the Quran which foretell science and archaeology before it was discovered. So we're going to look at the 8 pieces of evidence collectively. If everyone can turn to the algorithm, which I gave to you, let's look at E, common sense. I don't think what we're doing now, we're asking the question, how do we account for all of these verses in the Quran which agree with modern science? Not individual verses. This is the question we are now beginning to answer. How do you account for all of these verses in the Quran which agree with modern science? Well, look at E. I don't think it's common sense, so we can cross that out. Perhaps a scientific fact was observable, as in the case of Aristotle. No, I don't. Many of these things are not observable, like the issue of, the bees as well as, iron being set out. None of that stuff is observable. G, perhaps the information already pre-existed in history. Well, of course, we know that's not true. I mean, we cannot, I'm sorry, in the sense that the author of the Quran plagiarized from some other source. Well, I don't think that's true either, because in order to make this claim, you have to show us other stuff which the author of the Quran also copied from that book. Because